Fleet Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the blue planet below. Earth. Such a small world. Such a weak species. This would be easy. Behind him, 2,000 warships waited for his command. The 9th Subjugation Armada was the pride of the Draconian hegemony. They had conquered 400 star systems. They had crushed civilizations that had existed for millions of years. A primitive world like Earth would fall in hours. Was a tall creature covered in dark green scales. His eyes were yellow and cold like a snake. He had led armies for 300 years. He had never lost a battle. He did not plan to start today. "Commander," said his second officer, a younger Draconian named, "we have completed our scans of the planet." "And what did you find?" "They call themselves humans. They have only had space travel for 200 years. Their ships are slow and weak. They have no planetary shields, no orbital weapons. They fight among themselves constantly." Made a sound like laughter. "They are barely worth our time." Nodded slowly. He had seen the reports. Humans were soft creatures with no scales, no claws, no natural weapons. They needed machines to survive in space. They needed clothes to survive their own weather. Evolution had given them nothing useful. "Send the standard message," ordered. "Tell them to surrender or die." The communication officer pressed several buttons. The message went out to every device on Earth, every screen, every radio, every phone. The Draconians had done this many times before. Most species surrendered immediately when they saw 2,000 warships in their sky. For a long moment there was silence. Then a reply came. The communication officer looked confused. "Commander, they are responding." "Put it on screen." A human face appeared. It was a female with dark skin and gray hair. She looked old, but her eyes were sharp and clear. She did not look afraid. This surprised. Most species showed fear when they saw his fleet. "Draconian vessels," the woman said. Her voice was calm, almost sad. "We have been watching you for a very long time. We know why you have come. We know what you have done to other worlds." Leaned forward. "Then you know you cannot win. Surrender now, and some of your people will be allowed to live as servants." The woman smiled. It was a strange smile, not happy, not angry, almost sorry. "We tried to warn the others," she said. "The ones who came before you, we told them to leave. They did not listen. We are sorry for what happens next." The screen went dark. Felt something cold in his stomach. He had conquered hundreds of worlds. He had heard threats from species with weapons that could crack planets. None of them had ever made him feel like this. The woman had not threatened him. She had not begged. She had apologized. Commander looked nervous. What did she mean? What others? Pushed the feeling away. He was a warrior. He did not feel fear. "It does not matter," he said. "Begin the invasion. All ground forces deploy immediately. I want this planet under our control by tomorrow." The Armada moved like a great machine. Drop ships fell from the larger vessels like rain. Thousands of them, carrying millions of Draconian soldiers. Fighter craft screamed through Earth's atmosphere. Landing zones were established in every major city. Watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. His forces were landing without resistance. The humans were not even fighting back. "Ground teams reporting successful landing," said the tactical officer. "No enemy contact. The humans appear to be waiting." "Waiting for what?" "Unknown, Commander." Frowned. This was wrong. Every species fought back. Even the weakest creatures struggled when death came for them. But the humans were just standing there, watching. "First wave has entered the primary city," the tactical officer reported. "They are moving through the streets, still no resistance. The humans are." The officer stopped speaking. "Continue your report," ordered. Commander, I am losing signals." "What do you mean?" "Ground Team Alpha is offline. Ground Team Beta is offline. Ground Team," the officer's voice cracked. Commander, I am losing all ground teams, all of them, at the same time. His blood went cold. On the tactical display, thousands of green dots were disappearing, not moving to new positions, not showing signs of combat, just vanishing, one by one, then dozens, then hundreds. Fighter squadrons commanded, report status. Silence. Fighter squadrons, respond immediately. Nothing. Grab the communication controls. All ships, this is the flagship, report your status immediately. Anyone, please respond. The bridge was silent except for the soft hum of machines. 2,000 ships, 4,700,000 soldiers, all silent. Commander, whispered the sensor officer. His scales had turned pale. I am detecting no life signs from any of our vessels. They are all empty. That is impossible, said, but his voice shook. Run the scan again. I have run it 12 times, Commander. The ships are there. The ships are intact, but everyone inside them is gone. Looked out the window at his armada. The ships floated peacefully in orbit. No damage, no weapons fire, no explosions. They looked exactly the same as before. But they were tombs now. We are leaving, said. Maximum speed now. Commander, we cannot abandon. There is no one to abandon, roared. They are gone, all of them. Do you want to join them? The flagship turned away from Earth. Its engines roared to life. Did not look back at the blue planet. He did not want to see it ever again. Open a channel to the hegemony, he ordered. Emergency frequency, maximum encryption. Channel open, Commander. Took a deep breath. His hands were shaking. He had never shaken before. This is Fleet Commander of the 9th Subjugation Armada. Our invasion of Earth has failed. Total failure. All forces lost. He paused. How could he explain what had happened? He did not understand it himself. Do not come here, he said. Do not send reinforcements. Do not send rescue teams. The humans are not what we believed. They are not prey, they are. The lights on the bridge flickered. Turned around. Standing behind him was the old human woman from the transmission. She was inside his ship, inside his bridge. And she was not alone. Dozens of humans stood with her, appearing from nowhere like ghosts. We gave you a chance to leave, the woman said softly. We always do. Opened his mouth to scream. The transmission to the hegemony ended. The flagship of the 9th Subjugation Armada continued on its course for exactly 3 more seconds. Then it stopped. Its engines went silent. Its lights went dark. On Earth, the humans looked up at the sky. The stars were visible now that the Armada's ships had stopped blocking them. Children pointed at the dark shapes floating in orbit. Will they come back? A young boy asked his mother. No, she said, they never do. Far away in the heart of the Draconian hegemony, military commanders stared at their screens in disbelief. The 9th Subjugation Armada had vanished. 2,000 ships, nearly 5 million soldiers, gone without a trace. Only his final, broken transmission remained. And his last word, the one he never finished speaking, would haunt the galaxy for years to come. What had he been trying to say? What were the humans? 3 years passed. The galaxy tried to forget about Earth, but some things cannot be forgotten. The Galactic Confederacy met on the station called Unity Prime. It was a massive structure floating in neutral space, far from any empire's territory. 31 species sent their ambassadors here to discuss matters of peace and war. Today they would discuss Earth. Ambassador of the Draconian hegemony stood at the center of the great hall. He was old for his kind, his scales faded to a pale gray, but his anger burned bright. 3 years, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. 3 years since we lost nearly 5 million of our people. 3 years since the humans committed the greatest act of murder in galactic history. And what has this confederacy done? Nothing. The other ambassadors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They represented many different species. They were tall and thin, with large heads and small bodies. They believed themselves to be the beings in the galaxy. There were insect-like creatures who shared one mind across millions of bodies. They looked almost like humans, but with blue skin and 4 arms. There were dozens of others, each stranger than the last. The ambassador, a creature named, raised one long finger. "Ambassador," said in a slow, careful voice, "we understand your grief, but we must consider the facts. Your people invaded Earth without provocation. Your fleet was destroyed by unknown means. This does not necessarily mean the humans are a threat to the Confederacy." "Unknown means," slammed his fist on the podium. "They killed 5 million soldiers in minutes without firing a single weapon. What else do you need to see?" "We need evidence," said the representative. They did not have individual names. They spoke as one voice through whichever body was nearest. "Our long-range sensors have studied Earth for years. We detect no advanced technology, no weapons platforms, no military vessels. The humans appear to be a primitive species, barely capable of reaching their own moon." "Then how do you explain what happened to our fleet?" They made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "Perhaps your fleet was not as powerful as you believed. Perhaps there was a malfunction. Perhaps your soldiers simply deserted." Scales flushed dark red with rage. "You dare suggest—" "Peace, ambassador," said. "The meant no insult. We simply need more information before we act. Surely you understand." Wanted to scream. He wanted to attack these fools who sat safely in their chairs while his people rotted in space, but he controlled himself. Barely. "Then send an investigation team," he said. "Send ships to Earth. See for yourselves what the humans have done." The ambassadors looked at each other. No one volunteered. Finally, a voice spoke from the back of the hall. "I have been to Earth." Everyone turned. An old walked slowly toward the center of the chamber. He was not an ambassador. He wore the rough clothes of a merchant captain. His 4 arms were from years of hard work. "Who are you?" demanded. "My name is, I am a trader. I visited Earth 40 years ago before the humans went quiet." "And what did you see?" Was silent for a moment. His eyes seemed to look at something far away. "I saw a species unlike any other," he said finally. "They welcomed me. They traded with me fairly. They were kind." He paused, but there was something else, something underneath. "What do you mean?" "I spoke with their leaders. I asked them about their history. They told me stories that made my blood freeze." Shook his head slowly. "They had fought themselves. Many times. They had weapons that could destroy their entire planet, and they had almost used them. Multiple times. They killed each other by the millions over ideas, over beliefs, over nothing at all." The hall was very quiet now. "But they survived," continued. "Every time they nearly destroyed themselves, they came back, stronger, smarter. They turned their aggression into creation. They made art and music and science. They took the darkness inside them and transformed it." "This is all very interesting," said, "but it does not explain." "I am not finished." His voice was hard. "I asked their leader what her people feared. Do you know what she said?" No one answered. "She smiled at me, and she said, 'Only ourselves.'" The words hung in the air like smoke. "You do not understand what that means," said. "A species that has conquered its own nature. A species that looked into the darkness of its own soul and defeated it. That is not a primitive species. That is something else entirely. Something we have never seen before." Ambassador nodded eagerly. "You see, even this trader understands the danger." But the ambassador was shaking his head. "Stories," said dismissively. "Folklore. The humans are clever with words, nothing more. We have scanned their planet. We have studied their technology. They are not a threat." "Then why did they destroy our armada?" demanded. "We do not know that they did. We only know that your armada is gone. Perhaps you should look closer to home for answers." Turned to address the full chamber. "I move that we take no action against Earth at this time. The evidence is insufficient." The vote was taken. 23 species voted against action. 8 voted with. The motion failed. Watched the votes appear on the display screen. His heart sank. He had tried to warn them, but they were too proud, too certain of their own superiority. "You are making a terrible mistake," he said quietly, but no one was listening to him anymore. 3 months later, the collective made an announcement. They would send their own expedition to Earth. 12 ships carrying scientists and researchers. A peaceful mission, they said. They only wanted to learn the truth. Heard the news on a distant trading station. He closed his eyes and said a prayer for they would need it. The expedition entered the Sol system on a bright morning by Earth's calendar. Their ships were sleek and fast, designed for research rather than war. The crews were excited. They would solve the mystery that had confused the galaxy for 3 years. The expedition commander sent the first report after 2 hours. "We have arrived safely. Earth is visible, beginning our approach." The second report came 1 hour later. "Something strange. Our sensors are detecting unusual energy readings, unable to identify source." The third report came 30 minutes after that. "The humans are hailing us. They are asking us to leave. They say we will not be harmed if we leave now." There was no fourth report. The collective waited for 7 days, then 14, then 30. The 12 ships never returned. The thousands of on board simply stopped existing. The hive mind felt them disappear, one by one, like candles being blown out. For the first time in their history, the collective knew fear. And in the great hall of Unity Prime, Ambassador stood before the Confederacy once again. "Now do you believe me?" he asked. This time, no one had an answer. Earth floated peacefully in its corner of the galaxy, blue and green and white, beautiful, silent. Waiting, 10 years after the Draconian Armada vanished, Earth became a legend. Every spacer knew the stories. Every child heard the warnings. Do not go to Sol. Do not approach the blue planet. Those who enter never return. The Galactic Confederacy created a quarantine zone around the entire star system. Warning beacons floated in a great ring, flashing their messages in 100 languages. Danger, restricted space, entry forbidden. But legends attract curious minds, and sometimes desperate ones. The research vessel Infinite Thought floated at the edge of the quarantine zone. Its crew was studying the boundary, trying to understand what made Earth so dangerous. Captain stood in the observation room, staring at the distant star called Sol. Somewhere beyond that light was the planet that had swallowed empires. "Captain," said her science officer, "we are detecting something unusual." "What is it?" "An emergency beacon. Draconian military frequency. It is broadcasting from inside the quarantine zone." Felt her pulse quicken. After 10 years, that is impossible. "The signal is weak but clear. It appears to be coming from Earth's orbit." Thought carefully. The Confederacy had forbidden all entry into the Sol system, but this was a draconian beacon. There might be survivors. There might be answers. "Prepare a probe," she ordered. "Send it to investigate the signal." The probe was small and fast. It crossed the quarantine line and disappeared into the forbidden space. The crew of the Infinite Thought waited in tense silence. 2 days later, the probe returned. The entire crew gathered to see what it had found. Opened the data files herself. There were sensor readings, radiation measurements, gravitational maps, standard scientific data. And one image. Stared at it for a long time without speaking. The image showed the inside of a building on Earth. The walls were painted in warm colors. Sunlight came through large windows. It looked peaceful, comfortable, like a home. In the center of the image sat a draconian soldier. He was alive. He was smiling. In his arms he held a small furry creature with pointed ears and whiskers, a Terran animal called a cat. Behind the soldier, human children were playing. They were laughing. One of them had her hand on the Draconian's shoulder like they were friends. A message was attached to the image, written in simple galactic standard. "We are not prisoners. We are home. Do not come for us. We do not wish to leave." Read the message 3 times. She did not understand. "This makes no sense," her science officer said. "The Draconians came to conquer Earth. The humans should hate them. Why would they let them live like this?" "Perhaps it is a trick," another officer suggested. "The humans could be controlling his mind." "Or perhaps," hesitated, "perhaps we have misunderstood everything." She filed her report with the Confederacy. Like all reports about Earth, it raised more questions than it answered. Like all reports about Earth, it was classified and hidden away. But stories have a way of escaping. Whispers spread through the galaxy. The Draconians were not dead. They were living on Earth. They were happy. Some called it lies, some called it madness, but some began to wonder. Far from the centers of power, in a small trading port on the edge of known space, a named heard the whispers. He sat alone in a dirty bar, drinking cheap alcohol and feeling sorry for himself. Had been a smuggler for 30 years. He had been good at it once, but bad luck and bad decisions had caught up with him. Now he owed money to dangerous people. His ship was falling apart. He had nowhere to go. "You look terrible," said the bartender, an old female with kind eyes. "I feel terrible," replied. "What are you going to do?" Stared into his drink. "I do not know. I have enemies everywhere. Nowhere is safe for me now." The bartender leaned closer. "I heard a story recently about a trader who flew into the quarantine zone, into the Sol system." "He is dead then?" "No, he came back. He said the humans did not kill him. They let him go." Looked up. "That is impossible." "Maybe, maybe not," the bartender shrugged. "They say the humans only kill warships. They say if you come in peace, they welcome you." Thought about this for a long time after the bartender walked away. He had nothing left to lose. His creditors would kill him slowly and painfully. At least the humans would make it quick. Unless the stories were true. 3 days later, ship crossed the quarantine line. Warning messages screamed from his radio. He ignored them. His ship was too old to turn back now anyway. The Sol system was quiet, beautiful. 8 planets circled a yellow star, and there, third from the sun, was Earth. Expected weapons fire. He expected death. Instead, he received a calm, friendly message. "Unknown vessel, please identify yourself." His 4 hands trembled as he opened the communication channel. "My name is, I am a trader. I am not armed. I am not here to fight." There was a pause, then a different voice spoke, a woman's voice speaking perfect. "Welcome, we have been watching you. We know you are not a threat." A ship appeared from nowhere. It was like nothing had ever seen, smooth and elegant like a living thing. It moved beside his old freighter without making a sound. A face appeared on his screen, a human woman with brown skin and dark eyes. She was smiling gently. "You came seeking escape," she said. "You came because you had nowhere else to go." "Yes," whispered. "How did you know?" "We know many things. We have been watching the galaxy for a very long time." "What are you going to do to me?" The woman's smile grew warmer. "That depends on you. You have a choice. You can leave now. We will repair your ship and give you supplies. You will forget you ever came here, and you will never be able to find us again. You will be safe from your enemies, but you will never know the truth." "Lord." "Or you can stay. You can see what Earth really is. You can learn the truth about humanity, but you must understand if you stay, you cannot leave unchanged. What you see will transform you. Some find this frightening. Some find it beautiful." Looked at the blue planet growing larger in his window. He thought about his wasted life, his mistakes, his regrets. "I want to know the truth," he said. The human woman nodded. "Then come, let us show you what we have become." Ship descended toward Earth. He did not know what waited for him below the clouds. He did not know if he would survive. But for the first time in many years, he felt something strange in his chest. Hope. Ship broke through the clouds and he stopped breathing. This was not the primitive world the galaxy believed in. This was something else entirely, something impossible. Cities floated in the sky, massive structures of glass and light drifting peacefully among the clouds. Below them, forests stretched for thousands of miles, greener and more alive than anything had ever seen. Rivers sparkled like silver ribbons. Mountains rose into the heavens, their peaks touching the floating cities. "Welcome to Earth," said the human woman's voice in his ear. "My name is I will be your guide." Could not speak, he could only stare. Ship led him to one of the floating cities. As they approached, saw things that made his mind spin. Humans walked on bridges made of pure light. Creatures that looked like stars given form drifted through the streets. Machines moved with the grace of living things. And everywhere there were aliens. Draconians worked in gardens, their clawed hands gentle with flowers. Walked freely, no longer connected to their hive mind, each one an individual for the first time in their species' history. And dozens of other species moved through the crowds. They talked, they laughed, they looked happy. Ship landed on a platform of white stone, was waiting for him when he stepped outside. She was smaller than he expected, fragile-looking, but her eyes held a depth that frightened him. "You have questions," said. "I have 1,000 questions. I do not know where to begin." Smiled and began walking, followed. "Let me tell you a story," she said. "Long ago, humanity was exactly what the galaxy believes. We were violent. We were dangerous. We fought wars over nothing. We created weapons that could destroy our world, and we nearly used them many times." They passed a group of draconian children playing with human children. The draconians were smaller than the adults knew, their scales bright and colorful. They chased each other through a park, screaming with joy. "But we survived," continued. "Again and again we pulled ourselves back from the edge of destruction, and each time we learned. We grew. We began to understand something important." "What?" "That our greatest enemy was never outside us. It was inside. Our aggression, our fear, our need to dominate, these things were built into our biology. Our ancestors evolved to survive in a dangerous world, but that world was gone. The instincts that once kept us alive were now killing us." They entered a building that seemed to be made of crystal. Inside, beings of pure light floated through the air. Realized with shock that these were artificial intelligences, machines with minds. "So we changed ourselves," said. "We rewrote our own nature. We removed the chains that our evolution had placed on us. And when we were done, we were something new, something better." "You removed your aggression." "No, we understood it. We transformed it," stopped and turned to face. "Aggression is just energy, energy for survival, for protection, for change. Our ancestors used that energy to kill. We learned to use it to create." His mind was racing. But the armadas, the millions who came here, what happened to them? Was quiet for a moment, then she said, "Come, I will show you." They walked through the crystal building until they reached a large room filled with screens. Each screen showed a different scene. Draconians teaching human children about their history. Individuals creating art, each one unique. Scientists working beside human researchers. When the Draconians came, said, "We gave them a choice. Leave in peace or stay and be transformed. Most chose to fight, so we stopped them." "You killed them." "No, we changed them." "Felt cold? What do you mean?" The Draconians were engineered for war. Thousands of years ago, their ancestors modified their own genetics to create perfect soldiers. They built aggression and dominance into their blood. Every Draconian is born wanting to conquer. It is not their fault. It is their programming. Pointed to one of the screens. It showed an old Draconian sitting in a garden, painting a picture of flowers. "That is former fleet commander," she said. "The one who led the invasion. We removed the genetic modifications that made him violent. We showed him what he could be without the chains his ancestors put on him. Do you know what he said when he woke up?" Shook his head. "He cried. For 3 days he cried. He remembered every life he had taken, every world he had destroyed, and he was horrified. The person he was meant to be was gentle, kind, curious. His ancestors had buried that person under layers of engineered aggression. You changed his mind. You took away who he was." His eyes were sad but firm. "No, we gave him back who he was. The who conquered worlds was not real. He was a weapon built by people who died thousands of years ago. We freed him from that weapon." Stepped back, his hearts were pounding. "This is wrong," he said. "You cannot just change people. You cannot decide what is good and what is bad inside them." "Can we not?" asked quietly. "If someone is sick, do you not cure them? If someone is hurt, do you not heal them? The Draconians were sick. Their entire species was sick with a disease their ancestors gave them. We offered them a cure. But they did not choose it. They chose to invade. They chose violence. And violence in our home has consequences." Gestured at the screens. "Look at them now. Look at their faces. Do they seem like prisoners to you?" Looked, the Draconians on the screens were smiling, laughing. They moved freely. They created things. They loved and were loved. They looked happier than any Draconian he had ever seen. "Every one of them was given a choice," said. "After we healed them, after we showed them what they could be, we asked, 'Do you want to return to what you were? Do you want the violence back?' Not one said yes. Not one." Sat down heavily. His legs would not hold him anymore. "Why?" he asked. "Why do you hide here? With this power you could change the entire galaxy. You could end every war. You could fix every species." Knelt beside him. Her voice was gentle. "Because forced change is not real change. Because a galaxy that we fix will never learn to fix itself. Because we believe in choice, even when the choice is wrong." She put her hand on his shoulder. It was warm, human. "We could have conquered the stars. We chose not to. We wait here, watching, hoping that someday the galaxy will choose to be better on its own. And if it never does," smiled sadly, "then we will wait forever. We have time. We have all the time in the universe." Looked out the window at the floating city, at the peaceful people below, at the world that had terrified the galaxy. He understood now. The galaxy was not afraid of human weapons. It was afraid of human mercy. Stayed on Earth for 1 year. He learned. He watched. He changed. Not because the humans forced him to change. They offered gently to remove the small genetic errors that made him anxious and angry. He refused. He wanted to remain himself, flaws and all. They respected his choice. But knowledge changes a person even without genetic modification. Saw things that made him question everything he believed. He saw former enemies living as family. He saw violence transformed into creation. He saw a species that had conquered its own darkness. When he finally asked to leave, was not surprised. "You want to tell them," she said. "The Confederacy, the galaxy. Yes, they deserve to know the truth." Nodded slowly. "We have waited a long time for someone like you, someone who could leave and carry our message. Others have tried, but they could not bear to go. Earth is comfortable, safe. Most who come here never want to face the outside universe again." "I have to try," said. "Maybe they will not believe me. Maybe they will call me crazy, but they need to hear it." Took his hands in hers. Her grip was warm and strong. "Then tell them the truth. Tell them we are waiting. Tell them we hope." His ship lifted off from Earth on a clear morning. The floating cities drifted below like dreams. The green forests and blue oceans grew smaller and smaller until the whole planet was just a beautiful marble in the darkness. Did not look back. He was afraid that if he did, he would never leave. The journey to Unity Prime took 3 months. 3 months of silence and stars. 3 months to think about what he would say. When he finally arrived, the station was in chaos. News of his survival had spread. The first person ever to enter the Sol system and return. Everyone wanted to hear his story. The Galactic Confederacy called an emergency session. Every ambassador was present. The hall was packed with observers from 100 worlds. Stood at the center of it all a small blue with 4 arms and tired eyes. He looked at the faces watching him, skeptical faces, frightened faces, angry faces. Ambassador of the Draconian hegemony was in the front row. His scales had turned completely gray now. His eyes burned with 11 years of waiting for answers. "Tell us," demanded, "tell us what happened to my people." Took a deep breath. "Your people are alive," he said. "All of them, every soldier from the 9th Armada, every scientist from the expedition, everyone who ever entered the Sol system." Murmurs rippled through the hall. "That is impossible," said the ambassador. "Our sensors showed no life signs." "Your sensors cannot detect what the humans have become," interrupted. "They are beyond your understanding, beyond all of our understanding." He told them everything. He told them about the floating cities, the peaceful streets, the transformed Draconians who tended gardens and painted pictures, the who had become individuals for the first time, the technology that could reshape matter and mind. When he finished, the hall was silent. Then spoke, his voice shaking with rage. "You are saying they brainwashed my people. They took away their nature. They made them into pets." "No," said firmly. "They freed them. Your people were weapons, ambassador, built by your ancestors to conquer and kill. The humans removed that programming. They showed your people who they really were underneath, and your people chose to stay. They would never choose that. They did, all of them. After they were healed, the humans offered to restore their old programming. No one accepted, not one." Slammed his fist on his podium. "This is propaganda, lies the humans must have. Your people are happy, ambassador." His voice was soft now, almost gentle. "Truly happy. Perhaps for the first time in Draconian history. They create art. They raise families. They laugh at jokes and cry at beauty. They are not Draconians anymore. They are something better." He looked around the hall at all the watching faces. "And that is what terrifies you, is it not? Not that the humans could destroy you, but that they could fix you. That everything you believe makes you strong, makes you proud, is just damage. Damage that could be healed." The hall erupted in chaos. Ambassadors shouted at each other. Some demanded war against Earth. Others demanded alliance. Others simply screamed. Waited until the noise died down. Then he delivered humanity's message. "The humans are not your enemies. They never were. They have watched you for centuries, hoping you would evolve, hoping you would choose peace on your own. They have the power to end every war in the galaxy in a single day. They could make the Confederacy into paradise. But they will not, because they believe you must choose it for yourselves. That forced peace is not real peace, that the galaxy must earn its future. So they wait on Earth, watching, hopping." He paused. "They asked me to tell you one more thing, a warning and a promise." Every eye in the hall was on him now. "If you send more warships, they will be transformed like the others. But you are welcome to send anyone who comes in peace, refugees, seekers, anyone who wants to find something better. Earth will welcome them." Stepped away from the podium. "That is all. The choice is yours." The Confederacy debated for weeks. Some demanded the destruction of Earth, but everyone knew that was impossible. Some demanded isolation, but the quarantine was already failing. Because the strangest thing was happening. Ships were crossing the quarantine line. Not warships, not expeditions, just people. Individuals from every species broken by their lives, desperate for hope. A scientist whose research had been stolen. a mother who had lost her children to war, a drone who wanted to know what it felt like to be alone. They came by dozens at first, then hundreds, then thousands. And Earth welcomed them all. 50 years passed, then 100. The quarantine line faded away. Earth became a place of pilgrimage, not conquest. The galaxy did not change overnight. Wars still happened. Empires still rose and fell. Old hatreds died slowly. But something was different now. The idea had spread. The knowledge that change was possible, that violence was not nature but choice, that any species could become something better if they wanted it enough. Some species began to examine their own programming, their own genetic chains. Some began to ask, what would we be if we were truly free? On Earth, the humans watched. They did not celebrate too early. They had learned patience over the long centuries. But sometimes, late at night, they allowed themselves to smile. The galaxy was waking up. It was slow, it was messy, it was imperfect. But it was real. And that made all the difference. In the floating city where had first learned the truth, stood by a window and watched the stars. She was older now, though human technology made age meaningless. She chose to look old because wisdom deserved a face. A young human boy came to stand beside her. "Do you think they will ever catch up to us?" he asked. "The other species." Put her hand on his shoulder. "I do not know," she said honestly. "Maybe, maybe not, but that is not the point." "What is the point?" She smiled. "The point is that they are trying. The point is that we gave them the chance. The point is that somewhere out there, right now, someone is choosing to be better than they were yesterday." She turned back to the stars. "That is enough. That is everything." And far across the galaxy, in 100 different worlds, 100 different beings looked up at their own stars and wondered, what could we become? What are we truly meant to be? The answer was out there, waiting. All they had to do was choose.